Hello tankers and tankettes, and welcome to our second place winner. And before I reveal just who it is and what they're driving, I'm going to tease you a little and say it's an autoloader. Can you guess which one? So, drumroll maestro, and our winner is... it's Mayland from Unica in a 50B. Yeah, I would have maybe... I mean, the 50B is a good machine, but I would have maybe not guessed that that was going to be a winner, but here it is. In order of kind of likely to least likely, I would have said, prior to starting the contest, Waffly 100, T57 Heavy, this thing, and then the Foch 155, which is... if you could do 10,000 damage in that thing, that would be an incredible result for the Foch 155. But as it is, the 50B has come out, this 50B has come out well on top. Now, Mayland, you know, Unica is a very good clan. You have to be a pretty good player to be in Unica, so Mayland is going to demonstrate exactly what he can do. But having said what I've said about the T57 Heavy, it actually has one disadvantage compared to the 50B. Of course, the DPM's better on the 57 Heavy, but the 50B carries more shells. So although the 57 Heavy can get off the shells it has quicker, it's also going to run out sooner. And in terms of doing lots of damage, obviously, the more ammo you have, the better. There were some good results from tanks like the IS-7, for instance, but the IS-7 and the IS-4 actually have a fairly limited stock of ammo. So sometimes just things like that, how much ammo you can carry, it is actually going to have a big effect on the final result you can get. The 50B is also a pretty mobile machine. It's, I think, by far the fastest of the Tier 10 heavies. Of course, it's an autoloader, and it actually has a very good frontal plate. It's got by far the best of the frontal armour on the heavies, although I think the second best frontal plate you'll find is actually on the ARL-44. There's not a lot of competition, but generally speaking, if you come across a 50B and you're firing at the upper front plate, or I think even the lower front plate's fairly strong, you're kind of doing it wrong, because of course it has a big weak turret, a very weak turret in comparison to the hull anyway, and it's a big target to hit, so yeah, it will bounce things, and I think that catches people out sometimes, but it's hard to claim that this is a well-armoured machine. That mobility, however, is going to be very important to this particular match. And you can see here, the encounter battle we're on, I mean, Mayland has gone for the cap circle side. That is the more important side for the map, really. But on the minimap, we can just see that the WZ that went to the valley has just before he died, picked up the fact that there are a whole lot of enemy tanks that have just come streaming through the valley. Yes. Now, another way in which this team is at a slight disadvantage, well, I say another way, a way, is the fact that we have a failed platoon of 2 IS-7s and a T-150, all from the same clan, which is not helping the team at all. We've got a Tier 6 tank in place of a Tier 8 tank, so yeah, I really don't know why they did that. I sometimes, you know, it's more often to see a really low tier tank like a Tier 2 or a Tier 3 with a higher tier, but a Tier 6? I mean, if you want to see how the big boys play their battles, as it were, surely you just go and watch videos on YouTube rather than go in a failed platoon. Maybe it was an attempt at trolling, I don't know. Anyway, he's unloading at these 2 tanks in the middle. They're only Tier 8s, but still, if you can hurt them, that's all to the good. And he spreads his damage a bit there, but he's left them both on low health, which means that although if he concentrated fire he might have been able to take out one of them, having left them both on low health means they're more likely to be cautious and they're more likely to be easily taken out by his teammates. Now, those people that went through the valley are pushing round, and between the 2 tanks on the lakeside path and the tanks in front of them, the few remaining tanks in the middle, including artillery, are basically caught between a rock and a hard place. However, they are lighting up this big group of tanks, so Mayland can at least use them, their spotting, to actually sit and do some damage from range. They're probably not going to last too much longer, but the fact that all these people went through the valley, they seem very unwilling to go round. Of course, one of the things they're facing is a Jagdpanzer E100, but they have a massive numbers advantage, and it takes them a very long time to actually take, you know, make use of that numbers advantage. So they're down to just the Jagdpanzer E100 now, who's still got a fair bit of health, but the Centurion and the T-32 have finally pressed up. Mayland got spotted, so he's taking cover behind the house. He's going to pop out again and do some more damage. And he's just trying to shoot what he can shoot without exposing himself too much. Now the 17 health Centurion one you think would be a very low priority target, but it's one less thing the Jagdpanzer E100 has to worry about shooting him in the back, basically. And there we go, that Tiger 2 has suddenly sprung back to life. So, although that might have seemed an odd choice, it's one more enemy out of the game, and it maybe bought that Jagdpanzer E100 a little bit longer. And sometimes a little bit longer is all you need to get off one more shell, and sometimes one more shell is all you need to turn the difference, to turn the tide, to make a difference between a win and a loss. So this was the Panzer low health. A high roll would have done it, but it gets a low roll, so it takes 2 shots instead. He's been spotted again, but the T-34 is probably not that big of a threat from this distance. He's more concerned at this point possibly about the Object 140. The E100s that are both left, well, one of them, both of them got a decent amount of health, but a 140 can just run rings around these guys. And he really doesn't want to get shot in the butt, so he turns his attention away, basically. I'm going to guess, by the way, based on the minimap, and yeah, that Tiger 2 didn't last very long there, did he? I'm going to guess, based on the minimap, that Mayland is actually using optics on this thing. And, oh, he gets a shot off, but it bounces, unfortunately. Now, he's on his APCR because I would guess he feels like this damage all has to count. The odds are very stacked against them at this point. The E100s are... oh, that's another hit he really didn't want to take. The E100s are both on the cap, and they are both going to act basically as bait. And that could actually work in Mayland's favour, because the enemy team are going to be... you know, he knows where they're going to be going. The cap circle is a fixed point on the map. It's very important. And the enemy team basically have to get to the cap circle in order to decap. So that gives him opportunities to be sneaky, to get fire in from the flank, to pop out in an unexpected place and use that burst damage potential, because that's what autoloads are, of course, all about, is that burst damage. It's doing a lot of damage very quickly. So he's using his view range here. He's going to see if he can spot anybody trying to flank, and he actually does. There's that T-30 who we last saw on the lakeside path. He backs off, doesn't know if he's spotted, but well, there we go. He clearly wasn't, probably is now, however. Shoots the side, sets him on fire. T-30 does repair, so he's not able to immediately finish him off, but he's now an easy one-shot kill. Getting that fire was quite nice. I was just having a look. Oh, well, we saw something go over there, but yeah, the vagaries of the spotting system. Sometimes you know somebody's there before the game actually lights them up for you. So the E100s are slightly... they're not in a position to best support each other at this point, but one of them's just taken out D-32, so the odds have evened somewhat. We're now down to 3 enemies plus artillery versus 3 tanks. And Mayland's damage is really racking up. He's over 7,000 damage at this point. He's just waiting for his reload. He's going to pop out and hopefully punish his KV-4. But yeah, first one bounces, KV-4 strong. The KV-4's got the stock gun, but the top turret, which is the wrong way round to research things on the KV-4. Mayland takes a risk and does get hit. And even though it's the stock gun, when it's the side of your tank, when it's your axle, you know, it doesn't matter that he's only got 175 pen. So he takes the damage, unfortunately, but he's still got 1,000 plus health left. However, if the Jagdpanzer E100 shoots him, that could be an easily, you know, that could just end him. And the 704 as well, that could hurt. Bear in mind there's also enemy artillery left alive, so that's a factor also. So he moves in for the 704, he's got the clip, and the 704 was either relocating it anyway or spots what Mayland is doing. And he's the lower health target, so Mayland takes him out. However, unfortunately, it takes 2 shells, which means he's not just going to be able to clip the Jagdpanzer E100, who starts to turn, and Mayland had better get out of there sharpish. Yep, he gets to cover, though. He doesn't take any more hits, and the E100 goes for a peek and takes a hit from artillery, because there's no way the Jagdpanzer E100 would only do 600. So, we know artillery's just fired. Is probably safe to press round. The Jagdpanzer E100 is going to be looking the other way, although he checks first. And there we go, yes he is. The Jagdpanzer realises his peril, starts to turn, but it's way too late. And there we go. 7 kills, 9,794 damage. So he's going to pause a moment at this juncture, because there is still one enemy left, the artillery. And it's a good thing he does go after the artillery, because A, this is a damage contest where he needs to get over 10,000 damage, and okay, he took a couple of blind shots early on that might have done something, but on the other hand they might not. And also, he is 1 kill away from a Radley Walters medal, so hell yes, he's going to go and kill the enemy artillery. He's got the speed for it as well. This is, you know, this stage of a battle, when you are down to maybe 1 or 2 enemies and you're just hunting them down, that's when the speed of the 50B becomes really useful, and when that autoloader becomes especially useful, because they are alone, low health, and you can just clip them, and that's it, bam, they're dead. Says the GW Tiger P. He rolls high, takes him out with 1 hit, and Radley Walters over 10,000 damage. Very nice. So let's have a look at the scores and see just how Mayland did, because that was a pretty impressive result, all told. So, in addition to the Radley Walters, he also picked up a high caliber medal, unsurprisingly, and a top gun, and an ace tanker. His final damage count was 10,234, which is, yeah, not bad. Although he didn't do any blind hits, so it is a good thing he went after the artillery in the end. Although, when you've got 7 kills and 1 enemy left remaining, you know, hell yeah, you're going to go after them. You're not going to sit and cap. His teammates actually did not too bad as well in this one. The E100 platoon were 2nd and 3rd place with over 6,000 damage between them and another 5 kills. So he really, as well as he played in this one, it also came down to his teammates. He couldn't have really done what he did if he hadn't had those E100s left alive at the end there also. And we see on the enemy team the damage was fairly well spread out also. We had what, 3 people with over 3,000 damage, 1 person that was nearly 3,000 damage. So the enemy team was no slouch in a lot of ways. And although the rest of his team weren't particularly great, unsurprisingly the failed platoon of the 2 IS-7s and the T-150 didn't really do much between all 3 of them. It was really him and those E100s that carried the day there, and what they did between them was enough to ensure that not only that they got victory, but unknowingly that Mayland would also pick up a prize. So there's our 2nd place winner, which was quite impressive. Our 1st place winner, well, you're just going to have to wait and see, aren't you? That's going to be even better still. So if you enjoyed this replay, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.